I might forget afterwards, so before the teaching, I have two questions. Well, actually, it is not the point where we would have some arguments about the three calamities and which birth signs are against out of the calamities. And well, the question is, well, although they don't believe this, although the person who asked about this doesn't believe this, in Buddhism they talk about those three calamities. And so one of the monk, he talk about this. Well, those who doesn't even study well, they sell these things to make their living. Well, even online they talk about those three calamities, but he's not aware of the well, just like the saying that the god of the birth gave us the baby, just like it's like a totalism. From China, this came to being. Well, it is not even concrete. It doesn't even have a concrete evidence, and people are afraid of dying, and also people are afraid of disasters. They are also afraid of losing their properties, and because of some hurricane, they are also scared of things being destroyed. These are those sayings, but those people who enter into two calamities and who are out of faith, and also if you just put them in front of you, and if there's a hurricane, it's not that people only with inside the three calamities will be affected. This is very superstitious, and also it's a saying that it is a saying that doesn't have a concrete belief, and also making use of them, or making use of those appropriately. And people talk about life is full of destiny, and there are also people who make their living with those things, and they build up on these stories to make their living. And people who are not very aware, they also try to sell like good luck charm. Or, well, it is also a good excuse to say, well, something happened, and because of the three calamities that I am, it seems like the exam is not going to turn out well. But then if you say 19-year-old who is sitting for the final test of high school, to say if they belong to the three calamities in the year, then all of them should fail. Not even one should pass. But these are lies, and so it's not even worth your belief, and there's no evidence, and people are just afraid and scared of the natural disaster. So it just is one of the natural or superstitious belief. And I'm sorry to say from early morning, but thirdly, although those monks who are wearing monk robes, and if they play with this, that's really bad. This is nothing but this, and it's not mentioned in any sutras or sastras. And although we have many other things, it is not one of them. And so those people who even talk about this, they belong to hell, and there's not even need to talk about this, because it only causes headaches. And now, in this era, people who believe in scientific methods, basically, how many hours do we study maths in schools? And also, if you graduate until like college, then talk about your science score, the numbers of hours you study science, physics, and also maths, and all these things. These are all all law of cause and effect. This is not even something Buddhist, but this is just a superstitious totemism that arose in China. And so when you put on Lucky Charm, well, if you have Lucky Charm, then there will be no hurricane. But then why is China affected from those natural disasters? Well, then the printing press, they should produce the Good Luck Charm 365 days a year. So don't ever say things like, because you're in the year of three calamities, you're unlucky. This doesn't have any supporting evidence, and if I am to give a comparison, in Buddhism we give many comparisons like this. It is like the offering day of the sun, who for someone who cannot bear a child, and because if the mother cannot have a child and if it's her son, then it doesn't already make a sense, like a certain woman. So this is already false. And if you keep talking about this in Buddhism, well, we should do some little evaluation about the business for the lucky charm for good luck charm for the 3 kilometers here. There is no even value to discuss about them. For example, the Western science evolved. It has developed, and because of that, we also have like the surgeons. They miraculously they save a lot of people's life. And in Korea or in in many Western countries, when people say the God prayed and so people got cured, and then why do you think in Western countries medicine developed? Then the God can pray. So if you just think about it once, then you know that it doesn't make sense at all. Then in Christian countries where science developed, when they believed about 80%, when 80% of population believe in science, the surgery, it there's the medicines developed. If God cure and if religions cure, then we have about 3 and 4 major religions in Korea. Then why do we have so many hospitals in Korea? In places where we don't where we don't pray, and where the sense of hygiene is similar, even if you compare the two, the place where they have them and where they don't have them, it's almost the same. The percentage is almost the same. So if we study them objectively, then we can know that they are not true. So let's not talk about the 3 calamities, and which is not even Buddhism even here. So it is also wrong to talk about them and discuss about them in monasteries, and it is also not something that we should take as a reference. This is just old and very historical religion that people don't believe in anymore. So there's no even need to discuss about it. Well, you went to Indian you went to India for the Dalai Lama teaching. If not, or can you discuss about one in detail? And also, when I saw it online, I could only see the Tibetan teaching, but it seems like you saw the wrong address. Well, you can see that in this address, if you look at this address, you can see the Korean translated version, which is a simultaneous translation. So please look at that and give us question once again. Well, amongst them, the Korean translation was the best. English, since it was so difficult, the English translator kept silent, and also Chinese translator, well, he was explaining the things that he understood. So, well, of course, there are some parts where it lacks because it's very difficult. But the Korean translator, she did her best, and it was very worthwhile. So if you look at this, Later, below this, the address, if you could put as a subtitle, it would be great so that they could have a look at it. And then we are going to begin with the book. Well, we missed quite a lot of classes in between. Which paragraph are we? Well, we forgot. Likewise, from here. Likewise, selfness is a phenomenon and absence of self when you enter into their trueness. Everything that we think and everything that we observe are not different, and so we are apart from the analysis and also understanding. So if we add both of them, both selfless self phenomenon and absence of self, we talk void. If we combine two of them, we say it's a voidness or void. So whether it is Buddhism or not Buddhism, amongst the things that you talk about, the essential thing that we can figure out is whether it is a void or whether it is in void. If there is something that exists or if there is something that is not eternal, the difference, differentiating the difference between them, we can segregate Buddhism. If we say, oh, there's a God who is eternal, in Brahmanism, there is a God who is eternal, and there's also a creator. And Brahman is a creator, and the thing which emitted from it, it is also Atman. And also Muslims, they believe that the Allah is eternal, and Catholics and Christianity, they're in the similar line, so there's no need to talk about it. And also. Uh, and also Jews, they also believe in the God, who is eternal, the Jehovah, and also in China they believe that there is a God in the heaven. Well, when you see the program, the legendary the home of the legendary house, it seems like the place is still hot. They also like there is a lady who's always like who always carries a fan in her hand. Seems like it's a heaven, but it's hot there. So well, whether it is a god or whether it is a totemism. For stone, there is a god of stone. For a wood, there is a god of wood. And even in water, there is a god. And if you don't have a well, in the water, there's also the god of water, and we can even see them in some of the stories. But the god of the water has cancer. Why? Because we have put down the cables under the sea, and because of the cable, the the water god's castle is also beside it, and so they got cancer. But those embassies that something exists in Buddhism, we say they are outside our religion, and it's on the basis to think that I am the cause of all the cause and the effect, and everything depends on me. And although I am the connecting point, but despite all that, the true nature of myself is void. We start from here. And so even the mind, when we look at it in the center, well, even the mind has been created. That is also void and it also changes. But other than mind, other than developing ourselves, other than mind, if anything else, thinking that there is anything that exists, something that leads me, something that affects me, other than myself, we say there is something external forces, and also on top of the cause and the effect. if there's something more, and if there is something that different exists, we say we also say these are the external forces or outside the way. Even the seed that causes the happiness begins from my heart, and even the seed that causes unfortunate events, it begins from me. But nothing can bring them to me, and nothing can cause them. If there is absolute God, or if there is some other spiritual God who brings that to me, if you believe in something like that, and believing also that there is something eternal, we also called it outside the law. So after we argue about them and say if there are things which has eternal property, and if there is something that exists outside this, that is also eternal way, that is outside the law. So the absence of self and selfless of phenomenon, we enter into the trueness of them. So I myself, I don't have any property my own. We all know that the five skandhas are also void. We've experienced that truly. And how do you experience them? Through samatha and vipassana. When samatha is achieved, then through the vipassana, we understand that it's void. Only if we enter into that, then we can only talk about something that's true. We can only talk about something that is true. Here, something the true is something that is the reality, and not something that is a given condition. Something like there's a God, there is a spirit, or if say there are four elements. Under the hypocrite notion that they exist, things also start to go in the wrong ways. When you make observation to the truth, well, it's true to be born into this world. It's true to be have brought out to this world and die. But because you want to die, if you say we are going to live forever, then can you live forever? There's no one who has seen someone who lives eternally, and there's also no one who knows anyone who can live eternally. So what is eternal life? Someone who can live forever. They say in the body, they live with the body. Well, there's an example like this in America. One lady got womb cancer, and when she took out the cell, the cancer was not dying. Well, they are still experimenting about it, and I heard that they've been 30,000 dissertations about this. It seems like maybe you have to believe the cancer cell as God and live on. Well, it also just means it has not died so far, but it's also going to die. So, on such facts, if we enter into them, then all the things that we think about and all the things that we observe about are not different. Well, all of them, each word saying here is very true. The things that we think about and the things that we observe through samatha, they are not two. They are ideal. They are same. They are identical. Also with the voidness. So the things that we think about, and also the things that we make a deep observation. When you listen, what we say is void, but in our life, we believe that something exists and we live on. So things like, do not enter into my house, I'm going to report the police. Then here we do have I. It happens so. So the things that we think about and making the observation, it happens simultaneously. They're not different. The thoughts arising, well, we as a common beings, when we think about, we generally think about three things. What are they? There's I, and will it be good for me? Will it be delicious? You argue about that all the time and you eat. Will it be spicy? Will it be salty? Will it cause my stomach to ache? You will move from here to there. Even in front of your dining table, it seems like you have 84,000 times different thoughts arising. And if the side dish is delicious, you think your wife is pretty, and at the opposite side, you get angry at your wife, and even in front of your dining table, you think about your wife as a devil or also as a witch. But when you are able to do the absence of self or selfless phenomenon, then you realize that the things you see and make an observation, they're not different, but they're identical. And you can also have the vipassana when we come down a little, and when they see, it seems like we are at vipassana, or else is being distracted, you become self-centered, and that's why we ask you to do vipassana after samantha. Since they're not different, we are apart from discrimination and also analysis. With me as a center, this is right, this is wrong, or this is good, that's bad. This kind of discrimination disappears, and through deep analysis, even this disappears. So even those two disappears, and as much as we observe, we can observe with voidness, and likewise, even the wisdom of prana appears. Uh, the more we think of me in the center, and we raise more thoughts as I like, and then the object of the thought as much as, and also just like how we raise a thought, we misunderstand other things too. We are not able to see things as they are. Without any word, naturally concentrating at one point of view appears. About this time, amongst the 9 stages, we cross the 7th stage of Bodhisattva, and we lose speech too. We don't have time to speak too. Why is it so? Because we concentrate to one point, or either it is on the vipassana, or in the mantra, reciting mantra, and our heart progresses in that way, and we don't have time for speeches too. And even the speeches are formed because of many different thoughts. These are distracting, and also many useless thoughts, and because of that, such things arise. But if we actually enter into concentration, this doesn't happen. And even if we just keep them for a day, the person only will recite mantra the whole day. The person will only recite mantra. So, well, it's written here without words. Concentrating to one point keeps appearing naturally. With the right concentration, and you just recite Konsenbosar, Konsenbosar, Avalokitesvara, and the whole day, well, it may stop from time to time, but the whole day it gets continued. So even those Tibetans, when we observe them during the teachings, Tibetans, even those shopkeepers, they keep repeating Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. And when you say Tashtele, they say Tashtele and Om Mani Padme Hum again. But us, when we say, hello, have you had breakfast? Yes, was it delicious? Did you eat well? This and that. Did you sleep well yesterday? Why do you ask things which are useless? So although they are really useless things, even if you try to cut them, they don't get cut off, and even if wind blows, they don't fly away. And If this is an agni that's going to be swept away, that's also good. But this is something that doesn't get away with the wind, or even if you sweep, or even if you do many things. Because you have too many complications in the head, and you can stop them even for a short time. Well, if we say if that's living, then we are just living in the shadow of agnes. In one of the poem of the saint is written that under the moonlight, the shadow of bamboo was swaying with the wind, and the shadow, no matter how much you, no matter how much it is swayed by the wind, it cannot cut. So even in front of that, it becomes a habit, and we keep moving from one point to point. Will there be heaven or will there be no heaven? Will I give money or not? Shall I give to this child or that child? Even in front of that, we follow that routine. That's how we look like. So if we don't practice, whether you or I, we fall into many illusions of discrimination. And here, the illusions of discrimination refers to where there is an ego, and will it be benefits to me or not? We keep arguing about them. Well, that doesn't have any use, and that only creates headaches. We live our life that way. Well, it was said that one of the scholars said before, well, but still, it's better to say the God exists, because it's embarrassing after that if you see the God after that. Even the person, in his opinion, he's also calculating which is benefit for him. If you say he exists and if there isn't, well, it's less embarrassing. If we say he doesn't exist, but if he is there after our death, it's more embarrassing. So maybe it's better to say they do exist. But if you argue about that, then there is also the conflict between will I say it exists or it doesn't. So without word, if the thoughts that concentrates to one point continues, and without much movement, we should be able to concentrate our heart to that point. So when the bodhisattva's level 789 is when you reach them without much effort, just like how people of the Chungcheong province say uh, the the sun is rolling, just like that automatically the recitation of mantra happens, and even the concentration after asking one fundamental question happens too. What water is that? Please get me some cold water. It's a little hot. So if we do that, not because the trueness exists, but the place, the original place where agni has disappeared keeps arising. Well, if someone says so, you could think that that's said in order for to raise argument. Well, the person is getting angry. Well, the person is at the level. He's doing that in order to have arguments. You can say them. Oh, well, the person is so angry and his eyes are like protruding. Even if you listen to one simple speech, you can know that no matter how much they pretend that it is not true, well, the truth as it is, even in front of death, you could think that yes, that's the reality. Everything comes and goes with the relations, and when the relation ends, it comes to end. Isn't this something obvious? There is nothing special about it, too. At the time of death, what can be special? Well, I heard something interesting this time. In Sera Monastery in Belagobi, when I was talking with the Rinpoche, we began to discuss about sari, about the relics. And since in that region, all of them produce relics after death, so they don't even search for it after they die. They would just think that it is just a part of a body of the great teacher. So with the sari, they do not comment. With the relics, they don't comment how holy or how good or how nice that is, because they also have a lot of relics. When they burn the body of great teacher, they always have relics, and so the kids they collect them and play with them as like a marbles. Where the relics of the teachers, well, since it's a proof of how they lived before, so whether it is a part of the body or whether it is a nails and all, we take them. But with the normal relics which is being produced, there's no need to think of them as a mysterious thing. So when you reach to that state and at the samatha, when all the things start to come down, if you say water, then all the wave comes down, sits at the bottom, and just like the glasses, you can see, and that is the brightness, which is so bright. You see the whole reality. And just like that, you have to practice. You have to, just like that stage, you have to practice, which is so clear. By remaining in this state, you have to try not to let your heart be distracted. Well, if you reach the state, then you're not much distracted, but also don't do things or do not cause things that could cause you distractions. At times like that, you have to and you enter more deeply into your studies. Well, even the path to study has been spoken so deeply about it. Well, even the path has been shown in detail. While doing that, with such as greediness, if the boundary of your heart gets distracted, you have to calm them down and return back to how it was before very soon. So amongst them, because there is also humidity of your subconsciousness, you have agni that's arising in your heart, and if that starts to arise, then you have to realize that that's also futile. And well, when you have cold, to say it is time, you cough very often, and if you think that you have been cured, you start to cough again, and if you feel you have recovered, then you also have runny nose again. So by looking at it deeply once, and if you still cough, then you have to eat the medicine for mucus and also for coughing once again. Ask Dr. Shin if what I say is right. well, it needs time to be cured. But if you don't eat medicine, then it lasts longer. So if you eat the medicine, then you get cured sooner. And also, if you drink a lot of warm water, you get better soon. Well, you have to calm the distraction and come back to the calm mind again. The calm mind here refers to you while you do your practice. Even you all, you recite all mantras as per how you like. And then after it ends, you recite Avalokiteshvara, Avalokiteshvara, and half of them are sleeping, and half of them are distractions. And after that's done, and then if you come out, then in order to cook, when your daughter-in-law is cooking, you teach them this is not the way, not it's not the soul. You have to put the traditional soya sauce, and this is not the soya sauce, and you have to put salt, and not in the beginning, but later. And while doing such kind of thing, the Avalokiteshvara disappears. And then you remember again when everyone goes to work and everything is done, and when you want to clean, and when you feel that everything is ended, then only you remember Avalokiteshvara. Well, about like 2 hours has disappeared. And even if the thought disappears more than 2 hours, it means you're not actually doing the right practice. The whole day you don't even remember. You go here and there, and from there you fight, and you come and eat, and you buy at so many different places, and then that too it's not possible with 2 legs, so you run around with 4 legs, and in the night if you come back you feel so tired you want to sleep, you don't even remember. And in the morning, you if when you sit down to pray, you are again tired. But practice, even at the time of practice, you do different things, and other distractions arise. And if it's so cold like outside, if like today, then even if you close your doors, then you can feel the cold wind. And just like that, while living, you live your life so that you have many distractions. Then even the time that you sit down and do your practice, even the time is very short for you. You have to expand the time, but it shrinks. So even you all, whether it's you or I, while living, well, for us right now is a time when you feel youngest. Well, we had time when we were even younger, but tomorrow we will be older than today. So although today is the youngest, although we ask what's wrong with my age, it is not so actually. So even if you go around a lot, where the song is not very flattering, the person asking to come die at age of 90, but you still have so much work, and at 80 you feel humiliated, and so it seemed like that messenger is very weak. When that messenger wants to attack, you don't want to go because it hurts your pride, and the person doesn't really die. Although we say we are at the youngest time, well, our death is closer. There's also the song of hope. We have to do that, but since morning you don't give us hope. But if you tell us that death is not too far, you feel very you feel miserable. With a lot of distractions, and don't think that they are our way of life. We return back to how our heart was before, and if your mind becomes unpleasant, then you have to think about samadhi and its virtues, and you have to practice, and then you can get rid of the unpleasantness. Well, I heard that in the meditation room it was really hot one summer, and they were sitting, and the teacher was sweating so hard, and said said, "Well, my back's hurting and my legs hurting, and I'm about to die from the heat. You shouldn't feel so dizzy like that. Well, each time I go to India and come back, I have dizziness on flight, waiting at the airport vehicles, and even the eating is very. Even the food we eat is not really good." And when all the thing happens, then my whole body aches. And even when you sit in the plane, it's not even like sleeping. And even when you're in the car, you cannot even sleep well. And the weather in the daytime is so hot and you're sweating. And in at early morning, it is so cold. And so the body feels really bad. So when I come back, I always think that, well, this time when I go, should I just rent the flight? I think about those useless thoughts. And when we come back, well, then there is an advantage. I can only think of good things that happened over there. The teaching was good, and meeting Dalai Lama was really pleasant, and we only think about good things when we come back, and we even forget the miserable things what happened on and when we went there. And if someone asks me to go again today, then I'll go again. So, well, I think it is something weird. So when I thought about it deeply, although I haven't given birth myself, but I think it seemed like giving birth for women. But although it was very difficult at the time of birth, when the kids smile in front of you, then the misery of your pregnancy disappears. Although I haven't been through the time, I know it's correct. It seems like that's correct. So although we have our concentration, we do get angry because there are times when things don't happen easily and when you cannot do it. Well, if this is something that you can catch, then you just put it to one place. And but our mind is not something like that. Just like a ghost, and it floats away. If you said anything, well, the chicken stew would be delicious. Oh, your mind is already at the chicken stew place. So that's why it's funny. Well, it's also difficult. But when you think about it, uh, if you wonder why is my mind at the place of the chicken stew, then you get angry. And at times like that, what you have to do when you achieve samatha and also enlightenment, think about the happiness that has been achieved. Think about the think about that time? When you think about the time, well, someone said when they do like a shop in the morning, go to market, and in order to get good stuff, go early in the morning and take care of them, and about 11 o'clock, uh, start selling, and about 2 3 after everyone is left, you start eating your lunch, that even standing, and then prepare for dinner. And after it's done, and when you also prepare for tomorrow, then you go home early, like late in the night or early next morning, and then next morning come to work early in the morning. But then when you only think about that, you get annoyed. It's very annoying and you cannot do it. But then in the night, when you open your safe, and when you count, when you think about all the money inside, then you tend to forget about everything. And because of that, you do your business right. And also, when you have your children, when your child doesn't listen to you, you get angry. At school, doesn't even listen, and doesn't even listen and doesn't even study. But one day, he came back with perfect score, and all the things that happened before, you forget about them. You don't even remember all the money that's been spent, and also clothing, food, putting them to sleep, sending to school. You don't think about all the things that cause problems, but you can only see the score. and those foolish people for son and daughter, they say, well, my son and my daughter, this and that. You only think about good things. You only know how to talk like that. And even at the time of practice, when it's difficult, uh, because of the where in this phrase they compare Buddha to the king. Think about the comfort that nirvana gives. Think about the virtues, all the sufferings and unhappiness. You're away from them, and think about the state when you are actually finally free from them. It's just like in the prison. You've been in prison for 40 to 50 years, and then you open the door of the jail, the gate, and you stand there and think, now I am free. No one will stop me wherever I go. No one will put me to jail again. Just like that, the suffering and also anger, we have achieved nirvana, with which we can be free from all suffering, all social suffering. Then what more can we expect? Think about that in detail, and if you do so, then again you will be courageous. You have to build the moving force for your study. That too, you have to build on your own. No one else can do it for you. You yourself have to light up your own tail. So, when samatha and vipassana are both cultivated, and coming and going is also quite comfortable, and even at the time of death, the suffering disappear. And if your birth and your death is very comfortable, how good will that be? That will be really nice. There's something that you cannot compare, even if you give like thousands of gold. Don't you think it will be worth doing it? Well, I have also heard this before. where the woman that there is a woman that he loved very much, and when he listened to her, she really likes the diamond rings, but he doesn't have money enough to buy her the ring of her choice. But in order to buy her heart, he has to buy one. So when I asked what are you going to do, he's going to borrow some money from his friend. And I said, okay, do so. If you really love her, then do so. Because I know that it is not something that's going to be memorable. Maybe later, even the wife, just like Purua, she might bring the diamond ring and put it on the forehead of Buddha. You have to build the delight. When you see the skin of the distraction, you also have to calm them down. So if you are again very distracted and if you have so much conflicts because of greediness, you have to look all of them and you have to realize that it harms others. It is also not beneficial to you. You too, with your friend. If you decide to meet your friends that day, and while eating delicious things, and if you talk and while chatting a lot, and also backbiting your husband and backbite your friends, then also you bite the food, and then you decide to go for a cup of coffee, and you also talk about many useless things that doesn't help anyone. You spend money, you spend your time, you also say many things, you also backbite your husband and others. And when you sit at home after all this done, don't you feel void? Don't you feel futile? Why have I done something that is so futile? On the distraction. What is distraction? It is ultimately uh, it is something that I work very hard in order to achieve the greatness and also my own happiness. You have to think how difficult it is to live with something like that. You understand? So, distracting mind, all these conditions that causes them in your surroundings. If you realize that doesn't help you at all in your survival and also accumulating virtue, well, when I say accumulating virtue, it doesn't even help you at all in building those common happiness of your life. You have to observe the sufferings that they cause to those around you, and you also have to think that you want to be away from them, which causes unhappiness to you. And only if that happens, then you will start hating those distractions and you want to leave. And so men, normally they say it's a friend and they are being burned, they eat and they backbite the president, member of parliament, the military, and they talk about all the wrong things about them, and while eating they also bite, they also munch about many things, and they again drink, and next day they have problem with their stomach, and on that the unhappiness and sufferings of them, you have to make an observation. On the other hand, if you give up to the slumber and distraction, also, well, even the slumber, it grows, it develops. Well, someone said the person has a lot of problem because the person cannot sleep, and I had a prescription. Look at books. Then it would even take 5 minutes for you to fall asleep. So when I said that, the person was like, "How did you come to know that?" When I look at books, it doesn't even take me 5 minutes to fall asleep. So again and again, when you feel sleepy, and when you feel sleepy, then what happens? A human, just like we have fogs, people are not clear. Everything will be very foggy, and things would be same for them. And also, what happens is, well, I have problem because I cannot fall asleep. I know that too. That's what happens to old people. Because that's also because you are not in your clear mind the whole day. That's why you cannot fall asleep. The whole day you're not very clear. That's why in reality, you well, while you sit somewhere and you doze off, but you pretend that you did not fall asleep. And also, if there are some people who are talking beside you, well, if two to three grandmothers sleep together, uh, then even on days like offering, when kids see that everyone else on beside them are talking on their own, that something is this and something is that, are you listening? And then the other person is already sleeping. The slumber all the time. And because of that, even in the night, you don't fall asleep, and you feel that you become clear, more clear in the night. It is not so in even in day and even in the night. It's almost similar. It is so foggy that it's just like smoke in Beijing. And when we don't practice, then we face a lot of slumber. And the more we age, our sense of our decision making becomes weaker. And when I had the head of the police, I met him, and he said, "Oh, something disastrous is going to happen in December, in front of and they had a lot of accidents in the area in front of West Market. When you age, you cannot move well, and you're more prone to disease. And young people, they don't see well, and they just move around, and because of that, you have a lot of accidents because they look at your mobile. So I hope maybe they will change the horn's wavelength to something that all people can hear well. Just like the trucks in Pakistan, which really like surprise people. Well, even people they have a problem with their knees and they cannot even walk fast, and also they have so much things on their back, so they cannot even see front, and they're very prone to accidents. Also because your decision making is not very effective. Well, that happened to myself too. I told you I was collecting trees, tree twigs in order to do the heating. And when I climbed up the tree and when I went to come down, well, I was a little more scared, and I felt that I would break my legs. And it's already not happening. But if something goes wrong, well, if I'm 80 and if I climb the trees, it's it's horrible. although you say it's okay, well, for you it might be okay. I always think so to children. If you tell them, well, if you go home, please call home, please call and make sure that you are somewhere, you are somewhere, and they, despite it, they say, well, it's okay. For you, it's okay because you know where you are. They don't listen to you. And when they have their own children, then they would also know how it feels. Because it becomes not clear. Well, but the funny thing is, if you don't do your practice, uh, it becomes foggy because of your greediness. When you have greediness fulfilling all your desires, then your decision making becomes also weaker. And when you are young, although we think about this and that, since we are young, we have many distractions. But when you age, you cannot think so much because you already have headaches. And just like people living in Yasu, we are like, oh, do whatever you want. So when you have slumber, when you don't practice, as you age, you will feel more sleepy, and it will also get connected to your greediness. And it feels the worst when you are angry. And when you are angry, then you cannot see anything. And then the next one is when you have fleet thoughts. When you think about those things which are against the cause and effect, and when and then you become more foggy, and then when you age, you turn into uh, you when you age, you'll be doing worse things. Well, when you had this incident about Kwon Pa, Yu Byung-hun, who is more than 60 years old, he came in a robe, and well, in judo clothes, and he was playing judo with someone. Well, it was already promised, and and he won the judo. That's also a lie, and that's even cheating. So on the other hand, uh, when you surrender to slumber and distraction, your life becomes darker, foggy. Even your decision is very foggy. While in one of the TV shows, uh, probably Joseon television channel, well, he was like a debater, and when you view his debate now, then all the things that he said was very wrong. It's very foggy things that would not even give the clear sight, and he spoke about them under the notion that he's the enlightened one, or he's very awake. So if you heard things, and when you think about when you think your heart is sinking, then you have to think about something at the brighter side, and you also have to come back to the original state. It refers to a state where it's similar to when you have like a depression. Well, and you even forget about your age, just like when you go dancing, you talk about like what's wrong with my age, but then when we ask you to study, you say you are too old. In the Kekon channel, since I am weak, since my body is weak, that was it something like that? Well, whatever it is, if you are going in order to fulfill your greediness, you just go saying what's wrong with my age. But then when we ask you to study, you blame it on your age. Well, that is not fair. After that, well, our hurts when we don't have a place to rely on. The property of mind is that it doesn't have a body and it doesn't have a shape, so it depends on the motivation. So if we say, "Oh, my first son is pretty," then your hurt stays at the place. About money, if you think about money, then your hurt uh, is filled with attachment to the money. So uh, the place where our mind rests. We have to build a place where our mind can rely on. But then it's not okay if we have a place, if we build a place which can cause a sickness to our hurt. So about the question to the fundamental question or meditation or breath, if you have to have your uh, you have to have your concentration to those points. So uh, you have to be very firm to the object. Make sure it doesn't stop from time to time, but you have to make sure that it doesn't stop. Uh, you try that there is no breaking point between them. When you recite the Avalokitesvara, when you recite them, it seems like Om Mani Padme Hum. When you recite them, one each one, if you are sleepy, then although verbally you're reciting Kanjenbosa Avalokitesvara, the thoughts has already left you. And you think about other things too. Well, for women, you have too many problems like this arises because this has become your daily life. Well, it's about time that I have to pay the fees for my meetings, and if this occurs again and again, you should have the concentration. But then you think about so many different things about like kimchi and also saloons. Your mind moves from one place to another. You have to put attachment of your mind to a place. It's just like when you're putting a tape, when you're taping, then when the oxygen enters, then it also flows. Just like that, even your mantra becomes not very perfect. And if it's not perfect, then the strength of concentration also becomes weak. If that happens, then normally, even when you don't do the preparation and when you enter this directly, then what happens? If you are clear about your preparation and all the things, that when you do the Avalokitesvara, then only the mild things will you'll face the mild problems. But if you don't do that, if you're not prepared, and if you enter into Samantha directly, then uh, uh, for a person who drinks, this becomes a mantra that's drunk. or someone who drank a lot, and if he's sitting at a bar and if he's reciting mantra, then the person will say, bring me a glass of alcohol or something like that. So that's why pre-preparation is very important. And you might also pretend or misunderstand yourself that you're studying hard. It's important to have firm concentration. So when you have different thoughts arising or entering into you, then don't think that, oh, why is this thought happening? Just let them go. Something that you don't even want to see, your enemy who is coming to kill you. When you are falling off the cliff and if you are holding on to the rope and if you let go of your hand, then the person will fall in under the cliff just like that, let that go. But on that, if you are scared and if you hold on to it, and if you think about, oh, why do I remember about the kimchi at this point of time? Well, if you think that I have to go to West Market and buy this and that, and if you have so many distractions about this is that and that's this, will there be a good quality? And although you're reciting that verbally and your mind is thinking of something else, well, you have to come back to the Avalokitesvara, and if you're reciting two of them together because you are distracted, and if you also ask why, if you whatever you're thinking at the moment will be reflected on your mantra, and they will keep repeated. And so the only way to let them go is let them go actually. It's okay if you let them go. If you let them, you can let them go and you can come back. It is not okay if you are dragged by it. When ship is floating away, if you hold on to the rope, but if you cannot, if you're not strong enough to bring it back to the shore, you'll be dragged by it and you can also die. So at the time like that, you have to let it go. You shouldn't be distracted. And if the distraction continues, then the strength becomes weaker. Here is written more concentration. You have to concentrate firmly. Here it means the same thing. You have to concentrate very firmly. On the other hand, with the memories you left in smile before, if there is worry of being distracted, then you have to apply the sense of voidness here and calm down the distraction. This is something like when you're reciting Avalokitesvara, the thoughts like the cable car was found, whom should I go with? No, I don't want to go with her. She would not even pay. You think about those happy memories and you let your imaginations run wild. And that is something that can also cause a great problem. Because of the happiness, you can have agitation or distraction. Well, it becomes so that even for you, sitting down is difficult. So let's go shopping, let's go to eat, let's go to salons. Things will work out that way. That is distraction. So if you sit down, you will have agitation. Well, you cannot maintain the tranquility. So don't think about those happy memories too much. Well, I don't think there is like so happy memories to think about too. So during samatha practice, if you think about those happy memories only, then that could also happen. Your distraction will become greater. And also, if you have the sense of laziness, if you have laziness, and if you think, yesterday, I worked so hard to make kimchi, so my whole body is aching today, so I think I should take rest. Then prepare kimchi slowly for 2 days, separate the work load. So, well, because you have done something before, if you're not doing something, don't give yourself the chance to accept that that's an excuse. And also, at some time frame, the reason why I'm asking you to give yourself a time frame and there's a place is because if you are outside the place and time, then it somehow happens that you don't do it later. So at times like that, I keep thinking about them. Well, you eat meals 3 times a day very well. There's no one who eats 6 meals a day when they go out for a picnic, or else you can come back and eat 3 meals too. Where this is something even more precious than eating 3 meals a day. So during that time, something with me or something that belongs to me with the trueness, think that it's a time that you are meeting your own trueness, and that time, think of the time as most important time, give it the most important value in your life, and also ask for approval from all your family members too. During this hour, whatever situation I am facing, I'm going to study. And so, if there's anything that distracts, you have to let them disappear. Well, didn't I say this before? Uh, well, we heard about this folk tale before. Uh, when you're sweeping for so long in the night it will come out and become goblin. And when you do the goblin, when you have like a serum or like a wrestling Korean style of wrestling uh, with the goblin, you have to make sure that you have to let them you have to push them at once because they have only one leg. Because if you don't do that at once, then they will give so many different excuses and be cunning. And if you take rest while listening to the goblin, then goblin will say, let's sit down for some time. And if you do that, then they'll also ask you to get a drink. And later, after a while, you fall asleep because it becomes morning. And then you are losing to the goblin. And when you wake up in the morning, you're actually holding the goblin. Uh, so this is the legend of the goblin, which is also in our folk tale. So even at the time of your practice, if you think I'm going to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, then what happens first? Do you really have to do it at 4:30? That kind of thought will arise first. Is it not okay if I do it at 5 o'clock? You will start making up excuses. Well, maybe 1 hour about the time, 1 hour about this time. Yes, it's right. I can prepare a meal at 6 o'clock. And when you try to prepare a meal at 6 o'clock, the time is really busy. So sometimes you do at 4:30, sometimes you do at 5:30, and and there are some problems, and then you don't realize at the time, but later you start thinking, oh well, how about doing it in the evening? Oh, I'll do it in the evening. You start to think like that. uh, After your deep thought, you think evening is better, and then you think about what time in the evening. When my husband comes home, And when my kids sleep, well, if I start around 9 o'clock, will it be okay? Then at 9 o'clock, well, you have done it for a day, and then your husband puts on the TV, and when he puts on the news, you cannot do it anymore because it's too loud, and you wonder what time does the news end? About 10? And again at 10, your kids don't sleep sometimes, and comes to you say grandmother, and you even forget where you were. And also it becomes difficult, and when you think about it deeply, you think, oh well, I don't think it's going to happen today, let's do it tomorrow. And also if you want to do it tomorrow, then there's also something else happening that day, and if you prepare also that day, then there is something else arising. But even though offering day, you don't really do much. Well, the younger one will bring some food and everything, just like no one is really, you're not really preparing so much, but you give so much excuse. And just as if you're feeding everyone in Yossi, and you're not able to do it one day because that's the day of offering. And then if you miss one day, then you start feeling that, well, I don't think it's going to happen this month. Let's start brand new from next month. You start thinking that let's do it from next month. But then if you want to do it from the next month again, it's a season of cherry blossom, and then there'll be like so many visitors again. Well, when you want to do it after the cherry blossom flowers fall down, the Sakcha monastery is calling you because this is also the first day, it's the Buddha's birthday. So the time and the place, at the time you have to be very stubborn. You have to be very persistent, and you have to begin the time. And even if your grandmother comes, you should say, oh, well, I'm praying, and don't come here until 6 o'clock. And if your grandchild complains that he's bored, you should also make them understand that that's a very important time. When you're praying, and if your husband is coming and asking for dinner, well, pray, well, study so hard so that, like, even if your husband wants food, even if your husband comes asking for food, he'll be so amazed at how you study and doesn't even ask for food. Don't do it like don't do it in a petty way. Well, even if the whole world comes down to end, don't budge, and you have to do it. And when you have the strength, from the moment you start having that strength, you will start your proper way of being practiced, and also your darkness will start to fade away from something like this. Well, I have explained to you in so much detail. So when you have agitation and distraction, you have to think that it's all very void. Well, when I'm changing my life to the next life, also when it's changing for tomorrow, all these wrong things that I'm doing today or this time, what kind of happiness does it bring to my life? You have to think it that way. It's in vain, it's very futile. Likewise, apply it to the object that causes voidness in your heart. the distraction in the space and also as per the time, don't do that. And also stop doing things that causes like even distraction over place. Don't think that you are going to pray for 1,000 days. In the beginning, think so that you are going to pray for a week, and after a week, then think about you are going to do it for about 2 weeks. And if you lengthen the time, then you feel if you have a long time in advance as a planning, then you think that it's okay to miss one day. So in Sakcham Monastery, during the prayer time, when I say everyone has to pray, well, I only take it as like I only plan like 2 weeks, and for 2 weeks, you have to put yourself in the situation in which you're not much about other things. Then only after you age and after about time of your death, you not have any kind of sleepiness, and also you're not do crazy things. And even if you do those crazy things, it's only you who will feel miserable, and also those people who are surrounding you, they also go through very difficult time. Your children and also your friend, they will also go through difficult time. After that, to the trueness, you have to put your heart in the direction of the trueness. So in samatha, at the position where there is no lie at all, you have to try your best. Where the content is so good, isn't it? The practice method has been spoken so in such a detail, but why I don't understand why we keep saying that we cannot do it. Well, if the teaching is not if the method is not taught, then it becomes a problem. But the teaching has been taught already. Last year, Dalai Lama's teaching, the part which has been interpreted simultaneously, in Yasu, it's channel 170. And VBS channel, they show it once a week from January 19th. It's Tuesday, 1:30 from afternoon. From next week, on 21st, they will show this again, well, at 4 o'clock, early morning, and in the afternoon, 3:30. It seems like it will be one part will be shown 4 times. So on Saturday, 23rd January, at 21 o'clock, it will be shown. Every week, one part. Put this as a notice in our program so that people who are interested could see it. And the Dalai Lama's program will be shown again in BBS. So most probably, starting from this time, it will be shown, and not only the Korean teaching and other teachings, and also Kala chakras, or even in France and America, those teachings we will segregate which should be done first. It's more than 1,000 hours, and so we will try to continue to show this in PBS. So those of you who are also watching this from online, you could also see what's shown. Let's end.